Hi, my name is Joseph Alai, and welcome to part 2 of the Mastering Manifestation mini-series, where I go in depth in an explanation and applicable instructions on how to exactly manifest whatever you want in a very predictable, laser-targeted way. So in the first video, I went over a little bit about my story and explained how throughout the years, I had been sharpening systematically through data analysis and experiments exactly the aspects of manifesting that are essential. And what I mean by that is there's certain aspects in every teaching that is extra. And so what I've done is I've taken all that stuff away because a lot of those things actually impose limitation. And over the years, through studying dozens of teachers, sometimes for years at a time, reading hundreds of books, lectures, and taking various courses, and then also, like I said, testing this to the T, I've come up with a system. And now this system for me, I've coached a lot of people. I've coached celebrities, Olympic gold medal winners, New York Times bestsellers, and on it goes, successfully leading them towards their end. And so the techniques and systems and strategies that I talk about and that I want to give you now, and I'm going to go specifically into detail in this video, and I want to go into exactly how it's done, but they work in a predictable, systematic way. And that's what we want. There's a lot of information out there. And I know, like I said, when I started, there were years that went by where I was hit or miss, hit or miss, hit or miss. A lot of misses, a lot of hits. But in the end, it's like the only way to do this is to test it. That's the only way to master this stuff, because otherwise you don't know what is working and what isn't. But nevertheless, so what I want to talk about now is exactly the process that I use. So in coming up with the basis of manifesting, the essence of manifesting, the bottom line behind the techniques, what's very important to understand is although things can get quite intricate, the fundamentals are quite simple. It's a very simple process for complicated people. And I think that's a very important thing to start out by saying. Oftentimes, if I lay out, and as I've laid out this stuff, even for myself, the mind is it's so dynamic and so complex. And so applying simple formulas and simple fundamentals to a complex system of thoughts, beliefs, feelings, moods, and what have you, and also life experiences, it can be daunting. But that's why no matter what, if you follow these basic steps, you can get what you want. So the idea behind this, and I'm sure you've heard me say this before if you've been watching my videos and putting this to the test, but a lot of people have found success in the very basics of manifesting. Now, as you already know, the manifestation takes place in the subconscious mind. So that's where it begins, rather. So what the idea is that in the subconscious mind, there is some essence, some force, some power that manifests exactly what we want. Now, no science has ever been able to articulate this. The only way to do this and to articulate it is with patterns and testing. There's nothing is advanced as of yet in order to exactly figure this out. There's a lot of theories and speculation, but according to science right now, if you compare them to the experiences that we've been having, if you've been watching me and listening and reading, then you already know that. But the idea then is to take something and impress it upon the subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind is the aspect of us that controls all of our bodily functions without us having to think about it. It controls our fear, it controls emotion, all of these things from which we have no basic control. The things that are active by the time we're born. But there's much more to the subconscious than science and psychology know or articulate or allude to as of now. So the subconscious mind also is the creative aspect of man, and it's guarded as such by the conscious mind. But the subconscious mind essentially has an infinite memory, and in the terms of manifesting is connected to some infinite power, infinite force, infinite wisdom, infinite knowledge, infinite delight, infinite intelligence something that is beyond comprehension because of the idea that it keeps us alive. The idea of life and awareness in and of itself is beyond comprehension. And that is absolutely where science fails, psychology fails. And the only way to kind of get this is through mystical experiences or spiritual experiences. So the thing with the subconscious is that it stores everything, but it's not limited to that. It also creates everything. So from the time you draw your first breath, whatever you see, whatever you experience, whatever you feel is stored in the mind. Now there's a few-year window by the time you're born and a few years later to which most of your fundamental belief systems and the way you think about life are formed. Now the critical piece of this is that these beliefs will be set into place. Now they can be changed, which is what we'll talk about, but they will be set into place, and then the whole world will continuously manifest outward. The whole experience is a better word for it. Our whole human experience individually will be manifested outward, and what will happen is the external manifested world will perfectly align with the subconscious mind. So basically what that means is the way that we're treated, the way that we operate in life, our beliefs, our assumptions, our judgments, all of these things and much, much more are creating the world without. And the unquantifiable nature of the thought is that it is also creating as well. So memories, thinking of the future, all of these things, if they touch the subconscious mind, they will be manifested outward. So by the time our subconscious mind and our mind is essentially develops a conscious mind, we have some type of set of beliefs in our mind. Now, if you have had some type of traumatic experiences in the past, or even if you just chose to think about negative things. Now, there's no fault in this. It's just as it is. And every single person in the entire world will have some aspect of negativity. But the thing to watch out for, and the reason that I got into manifesting myself, was because my early programming manifested catastrophe after catastrophe after catastrophe. Depression, negative events, failure, fear, doubt, insecurity, jealousy, anger, rage, and all of those emotions, feelings, assumptions, beliefs. Everyone's out to get me. I have to guard everything that I have. I have to watch out for people. I have to hoard everything that I have. All these different types of belief systems that are impressed on us either through our parents, through our friends, through our experiences, or through our own judgments within. This is what we will continue to experience over and over and over and over and over again. So things like a lack of trust, that's a horrible thing to have impressed on the subconscious mind because it continuously proves itself, and that's the experience that happens. Now, eventually we come to a time when it's painful. We're powerless. Our thoughts are creating crazy things, but we're completely unaware of this. We have zero idea that we are the one that's fixing our experience in place. I gotta say this too, is that no one has the power to make us believe or judge anything. Now, of course, when we're young, we are extremely impressionable, but even then we have the opportunity to kind of shift our thinking and our judgments in a positive way. Now, if we would be able to do this, if we would be able to have a positive mindset, continuously thinking towards bigger, greater, lovely things that don't involve excruciating hard work, loss, pain, and all those things, if we focused on the great things, then that's what our world would continuously bring us. Now, that's not to say it will permanently end up that way. Because no matter what, there's always flux. There's always dynamic events. And we always manifest inadvertently, right? Because the whole vast world, after our first breath and our first sight, becomes our perpetual machine of creation. Now, the interesting thing is that we can reverse engineer this. We can look at the world without, and we can say to ourselves, okay, if this theory is true, then I should be able to take everything in this world right now and trace it back to some belief, thought, imaginal act, whatever. Now, the thing about the subconscious mind is it's essential. It's something that's very hard to work with. Now, it's not addressed it's not addressed much in psychology and modern science. I mean, it is to a degree, but not the nature from which we're talking about here, right? Although some aspects of the world talk about it as well, like self-talk and such. But what we're trying to do here is manage and control our subconscious mind. And if we can successfully do that, as so many of you already have from watching my channel and reading stuff, then you already know, but if you don't, that we can change the world that we experience. And that is where all power comes from. So how do we do that? How do we create the world that we want? Why is it that why is it that we keep getting broken up with over and over? Why is it that people are cheating on us over and over? Why is it that we can't hold on to money? Why is it that we always have bad luck? Why is it that everyone's mean to me? Why isn't it that I have any friends? These questions are what I used to ask myself, and I'm sure there's some in here that you're asking yourself as well. And so the truth is it's all from what exists in the mind. So how do we do it? How do we change this? The way we change this is through the miraculous power of our subconscious mind. Now, me, myself, I've proven beyond the shadow of a doubt through my own personal experiences, both including testing, mystical experience as if a revelation and seeing visions, as well as statistical analysis and learning from others, that Neville Goddard has the most accurate manifestation ideology that I've ever understood in my life. Now, as I said in the previous video, I'd studied dozens of teachers, right? Like, Napoleon Hill, Abraham Hicks, Pam Grout, Joseph Murphy, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Ernest Holmes, Wallace Wattles. I can go on and on and on. There's so many of them. And for some of these, I studied for years. And a lot of them, all of them testing systematically, right? Because of what I said before is my life was in chaos. It was in shambles. I was going to die, literally. And so with that said, the only choice that I had was to figure out and test in a systematic way how to master and how to actually modify the subconscious mind to master my reality, to have full dominion over this reality. And so the word subconscious first appeared to me in Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. He was talking about a term called autosuggestion, which states that if you repeat a phrase to yourself, it will happen. Now, at first when I saw that, I just thought, this is moronic. It's ridiculous. Now, at the time I was, I think, 18 or something like that. And it was one of the first books I ever owned. But with that said, I knew there was something to it. Now, later down the road, I had read some more of his books, and then I had this and the Bible and all this stuff, and I started to realize that the truth was in the subconscious mind. Now, all these different teachers, man, they talk about watching yourself like a movie. They're talking about all this stuff, man, raising your vibration, what have you. But none of those things were the specific answer. I knew for some reason when I heard the term subconscious, something jumped inside of me. I knew that was the answer. And so Neville Goddard has the best way to articulate it. And I also had a little advantage because I had received the promise like 6 or 7 years before I had ever ran into him. So when he mentioned it, even that was like 6 months or a year after I knew about him or so, I knew that, I was like, whoa, this is it, man, this is it. And I had been proving it systematically before, finding extreme results, right? How do we how do we change the subconscious mind? The key is the power of imagination, the Christ of Scripture inside of us, the I am, right? Anything that exists in this world has first been imagined. Think about it, everything man-made has been first imagined. And then the way that I believe is that before that, there is the power of imagination in a higher level that created everything else, right? So with that, and there's nothing to disprove this, and there's nothing about science that disproves this, and there's nothing about science that has figured something out that hasn't been mentioned in the past. And in fact, the Bible and the way that Neville Goddard discusses it goes into way more accurate detail than anything that I've ever read. And now, my background is computer science, physics, and mathematics. That's what I studied in college. And so always having that scientific and analytical mind, I knew that, at first it was extremely difficult for me to get into this stuff because I thought it was a bunch of bull. I just believed in Newtonian physics, man. I believe that we were all separate entities, but the truth is that we are all one, right? And we're all one. Everyone is you pushed out, and basically what that means is that we all share the same subconscious. There's no space between us. It's happening on a different plane, but we are all sharing the same subconscious. So when we finally learn how to manifest, we are all moved and influenced in order to get what we desire. So impressing the subconscious mind through the imagination is the greatest, in a systematic way, is the greatest achievement one could aspire to attain in a perfect manner. So the imagination is a profound instrument, and it's non-physical. It's inside of all of us. And what it is it replaces the carnal world with the spiritual world. It replaces the carnal world with our desired world. The subconscious mind is a non-selective entity inside of us. And so that means that whatever we want to impress upon it will be impressed upon it and manifest, which is why all the chaos and negativity happens sometimes. For me, extreme. Maybe for you it was extreme as well. It was so painful that I couldn't bear it anymore, which is why I was forced to continue to go on this journey as if my life depended on it. And so, as I said, the imagination is the replacer of this world. So if we don't want to experience something, the simplicity of the whole thing is that we impress our subconscious mind through the act of imagining in first person point of view of the end result, and we manifest it outward if we can do that properly. And so the keys here, the few steps that are involved, are defining first what you want. What do you want? You have a desire in you. You have a sensation in you. Now, what would satiate that sensation? What would satiate that desire? You pick that. You don't think about the means on how it must unfold, but instead what you do is you find the end result after it's been fulfilled. After it's been fulfilled. Now, the thing is about manifesting is that we choose the end for a very particular reason, which I'll go over in a minute. But we choose that scene, and then we suspend our body and our mind by relaxing. We sit in a chair, we lay down. Before bed or after a meal is one of the best places to do this, the best times to do this. And when we are there, we relax, shut off the senses, breathe deeply, or relax in any fashion. If you relax instantly, then forget about it. Just start imagining. But the idea is to, having first planned out what we want on a piece of paper, what would you see, what would you taste, what would you touch, what would you hear, what would you feel, what would you sense, what would your emotions be, what would your thoughts be? You take all these and you imagine them. You imagine them through your own eyes as if you're there right now. If you look through your own eyes in your imagination, not like you're on a movie, in your own eyes, this is an extremely important factor, one of the most important factors. And then we feel it real, we act it out. We take a short condensed clip of that scene, the fulfilled desire, and we imagine it over and over, repetition, 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 frequency, 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 and then intensity, more thorough. If you can increase the reality of your imaginal act near to the reality of this carnal world, it's a perfect impression. But once you do this, you should feel it real. After you feel natural as you're repeating it, it's impressed. At that moment, when you feel natural, when you feel it real, when you're not struggling to keep it together, when your mind still isn't wandering off, when you can feel it real and get that satisfaction of reality, then the seed has been planted. And what happens from that point forward is a mystery and a miracle, but you'll know the fruit of your labor. The manifestation will come. Now, if I want to be married, and I imagine being married, and I don't even have someone in mind, then what's the process? And this is when this is how we talk about what's known as the bridge of incidents, or the bridge of events which lead up to the end. So the infinite intelligence of the power that we're invoking by imagining, which is the Christ inside of us, will set up a perfect, it's almost like a path. We won't know the path generally. After practice, we'll begin to identify it, but we can never be 100% sure because it's beyond finding out, right? God says his ways and means are beyond finding out. And that's what I found true after testing this unnumbered times, countless times for years. We will start to encounter this journey. Now, we won't know it. We don't have to do a thing. We have to do nothing. But eventually we'll be moved in a miraculous way, and we'll wind up ending up getting exactly what we want. And that's the simplicity of it. That is the simplicity of it. If you, in these steps, if you know what you want, you relax your body, you imagine it as if you already have it until it feels real. If you can fall asleep in that state, it's going to be carried in. It's an extremely thorough impression. If you can't fall asleep in it, no worries. Just let it go after you've done it successfully. It'll still be impressed. But the former is more accurate and strong. But that's the key. That's it. If you do that, the minutia is sometimes extra and worrisome, right? The minute details, the chisel laser targeted way of doing it and knowing exactly what to do in every step. Listen, I have seen people first try ever get exactly what they want, knowing only what I just told you there. Knowing what I just told you there. Success, that's what I did for years, man. It works. It works every single time. So the idea is that we've impressed the subconscious mind by essentially quieting the conscious or suspending it, and then bringing it into our imagination, the scene of the wish fulfilled, and then repeating it with intensity until it feels real. Now, if you did it just once, it'll happen. If you do it 5 times, it'll happen. If you do, however many times it takes for you to get that feeling real, do it. It'll work. It'll work every time. And that's the key. That's the key. So, but besides that, now there's so many aspects of manifesting, right? There's like everyone is you pushed out, which is also what I'm finding out more is there's tons of misconceptions because the essence of that theory is critical and it's crucial and it's missing from most of the sources that I've seen. The one who has it right and the one that I follow is Neville Goddard. And so if you can understand everyone as you pushed out, if you can understand how to create beliefs, if you can understand how to remove beliefs, if you can understand how to influence other people, if you can understand how to change the weather, change events, change experiences, change the past, change the future, these are all different aspects, right? Now you may encounter topics such as what do I do when I obsess? What do I do when I doubt? How long do I have to imagine? How real does it have to feel? Do I have to see it vividly real? Are there any other techniques I can use? Can I use affirmations? Can I use inner dialogue or mental diet? Do I have to live in this 24/7? All of these are extremely valid questions. Extremely valid questions. And that's kind of the minute detail of what I want to go through soon. And so, but that was the key takeaway here, is that regardless of the external stuff, right, the idea, and as you know, and I know you know this, but I wanted to drive it home, is that impressing the subconscious mind is your goal. That is your goal. If you can find novel ways to impress your subconscious mind, you will master manifesting instantly. If you can control the thoughts that come into your mind, you will master manifesting. If you can control and direct your mind to whatever you want, if you can stay focused on your goals in the end, if you can just have that passion and that burning desire, then there's nothing at all that can get in the way between you and what you want. It'll happen time and time again. Now, the bridge of incidents that unfolds, we cannot know exactly when it's going to happen. That's what I said about it's beyond the intelligence of a human. His ways and means are past finding out. But nevertheless, we can begin to see it. And when we imagine, the instant we do it, the seed will be planted that very time. Once we feel it real and saturate our mind with it, it will plant the seed right then and there. The seed is metaphorical. It will grow in its own appointed hour because each seed has its own DNA. Now, I know you have a definite chief aim in life, and I know that you want something right now. Maybe you want riches. Maybe you want a specific person. Maybe you want a vacation. Maybe you want to look better. Maybe you want to be more outgoing. All of these things that I've just mentioned, I have specifically done, and I've taught many people, either my clients or my viewers, how to do this. And it's not, there's nothing that's impossible. Everything is possible. All things are possible if you can imagine. Now, I want to talk about a story real quick from a client of mine whom was manifesting a specific person. So in this person's case, her specific person had moved away and was far away. Now, she had caught up in her mind that it was impossible to do it because of the vast distance between the two. There was a vast distance between the two. But nevertheless, upon my instruction, I said, for me, that's a reasonable thing, that because you're far away, things aren't going to work. But when I'm not a reasonable man. I'm a manifesting man. I'm a spiritual man. And so what I did was I said, do not worry about that. Just simply imagine what you want and nothing else. Focus no mind on the middle. Focus no mind on the obstacles. For when we do so, we lock them into place and we make them just that more real. So take that story, and this is what happened. So she imagined. She imagined that they were back together and that no mention whatsoever of the distance between them was brought into the imaginal scene. And she did this time and time again. And over the course of weeks and months, things started to, from no contact, starting to talk to each other again, then getting closer. And then finally, in the end, the true love was confessed and they were brought back together. She just flew out today to go see him. He bought her a ticket to go there. Now, this may seem impossible, but you may have stories like this. This may be your very desire. There have been dozens and dozens of people that I've worked with so far who have manifested their specific person in a perfect way. Now, there's a lot of people saying a lot of things, but if you stick to the basics, you'll get what you want. And so this is what I want to say. The next video I'm going to release is going to go into an exact example of a technique on how to get what you want. The exact technique of implementation, and then I'm going to go over some more things as far as the strategies and the details of manifesting, that when you apply these, because the more you know by experience, not knowledge, the more you know by experience, the more you will master this process and know it beyond the shadow of a doubt that everything you do will bring you substantial gains. You'll always get what you want. So definitely stay tuned for the next video. Thank you.